I'd like to begin with a little joke. A man was sitting on a couch watching television. His wife walks into a room. After a few moments, he said, I decided that if I'm ever in a coma, I want you to pull the plug. His wife thinks about this for a moment and then goes over and unplugs the TV. There's a huge echo that just came on just now. If there's a mic on, please turn it off. Okay, I'm just going to continue. That's good. Thank you. Okay, I'm glad you liked the joke. So this is the deal. When distraction becomes our default engagement with the world, something essential is lost. In 2023, Americans averaged 4.5 hours a day with non-voiced activities on their smartphone and 7 hours a day looking at a screen. This type of activity does not generally encourage creativity, and creativity is essential. There are many ways to express creativity. We often think of art as an outcome of creativity, so I'll start there. Joseph Campbell introduced me to the essential function of art. He's inspired by James Joyce, who is inspired by St. Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas states that beauty is the value of any object. Without at least some degree of beauty, it is nothing. Joyce puts emphasis on epiphany, the revelation of true meaning. Campbell runs with this, stating that art requires an essential aesthetic character, a harmonious rhythm through which radiance shines. Art transmits radiance. Campbell often returns to the theme of radiance on essential shine and equates radiance with epiphany. He states, radiance, epiphany, is what might be called in religious terms as the all-informing Christ principle. Now, if you don't like religious terms, we could just say that radiance is the essence of creativity, the stuff of renewal. On the other hand, Campbell distinguishes proper art, which can transmit radiance, from improper art. Improper art moves the observer to desire and possess the object represented, or to fear or flee from it. Examples would be advertising and propaganda. Improper art is trying to manipulate or hijack your attention. When we lose our inner spark, we fall back on automatic. Whatever is dictated by our default mode network and cultural conditioning will influence our thoughts and actions. Life itself, the way of life, intends for us to express our innate abilities and to nurture qualities of imagination, curiosity, and wonder, qualities that cultivate togetherness. I use art as a starting place for creativity. Art requires technical ability in order to use an artistic medium. I can't just come into flow trying to play the piano because I have no skill. However, someone with a great deal of technical skill may not be transmitting essential flow. So let's take the example of paintings. In the art world, a great deal of appreciation comes from the worth or pride of ownership. There is an agreement that something is worth a lot of money. Someone might own a Picasso painting and derive satisfaction or self-esteem from the value and not from radiance and essential flow. Art for money alone can tarnish the artistic endeavor over time. A lot of Western art reflects an economic view over the experience of epiphany. In Victorian England, owning art declared status. In order to express beauty, technical skill needs to be in service of creativity. When we think of creativity, we tend to associate traditional arts and crafts as preferred mediums, but any human activity can apply. For example, flower arrangement is considered a Zen art in Japan, as is tea ceremony. We can approach gardening and drinking tea as vehicles for creativity. When I'm drinking tea, I often hold my cup with two hands and feel connected to clouds and earth. Cooking can be art, and in some cultures, a divinely inspired meal is known to transmit goodwill or energy. Eating a meal can be a way to celebrate togetherness. Deep listening and engaged conversation are also vehicles for the creative. The way that we relate to others, all sentient beings, can reflect a resonant connection. Just the way we live can have an interconnecting and creative outcome when we live selflessly and in service to life. In other words, artistic radiance has a connecting function when we become vehicles for the creative. Creativity doesn't require an obvious audience. Some things we do seem to go unnoticed. Anne, photo 1, please. Here's a photo I took of myself 45 years ago with a tripod and open shutter. Few had seen it. Anne, photo 2, please. The caption suggests these are faces of the spiritual journey, but I'm going to suggest they are also faces of a creative journey. For those that feel the word spiritual is overused or too religious, creativity can stand in nicely as a substitute word that can express dynamic engagement. The first face is calm, patience. The second face is joy, enjoyment. And the third face is effort, firm intent. The next photo is for humor by Gary Larson. And photo 3, please. Cow philosophy. As you travel life's highway, don't forget to stop and eat the roses. Holy cow! Seize the moment. We need to slow down to interact with beauty and allow space for the muse. Thank you, Anne. Creativity is a dynamic energy that inspires and infuses all life with a sense of being, connection, and radiance. I've seen crows, catbirds, and blue jays exhibit striking creativity. So it seems to me that we humans aren't alone with this. But since we are human, that's where to start. One way to apply human creativity is to adopt a craft, a medium through which we can transmit our creativity. In both ancient Greece and Rome, inspiration was the gift of a muse. A muse was a divine being and favored special places in nature to hang out. There were muses, all with names for poetry, music, dance, drama, comedy, history/heroic deeds, and astronomy/astrology. A muse is a genuine artistic and energetic configuration outside the personality self. They knew it was a good idea to attract and listen to a muse. Likewise, individuals weren't a genius when they excelled at something. Rather, they had a genius, an energetic force outside themselves that fed their ideas or art. Nick Offerman has a genius for woodworking. You may know him from his role as the anti-government manager in the sitcom Parks and Recreation. He is also a writer, woodworker, actor, a concerned, caring person working to make a difference in the world in his own unique way. And photo 4, please. This photo is taken in his workshop, a 1943 drill press and a cast-off piece of tree given second life. Thank you, Anne. Offerman has a great deal of respect for the practicality of farmer poet Wendell Berry. This is from Berry's somewhat famous poem, The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. The poem is reality-based. He admits despair and offers a practical suggestion: connection with the natural world. This is not a longing for peak experience or mystic union. And the same seems true of Nick Offerman. He loves being outdoors in nature, and he loves working with his hands to make things. He is a skilled woodworker who runs a woodworking shop that only employs 6 women. He does not meditate, but his life is living inquiry. He wants to know thyself, as Socrates is famous for saying. He is a lover of practical living wisdom. In conversation with Krista Tippett, he said, "The question that I'm living or attempting to live is, how can I come as close as possible to getting it right? I have a sort of mantra in my head that is running through my relationships in descending order. Am I okay with him? Am I okay with her?" Living the questions involves checking in with the part of me that would be aspiring to wisdom, saying, how am I doing? Am I getting any closer to getting it right? End quote. In other words, he is aspiring to wise action and informed relationships in his ongoing daily life to the best of his ability. To me, he seems authentic, and something that was close to coming together in me coalesced. The circle of interbeing has different interbeing types. Sometimes we may tend to think of mystic union as the peak experience that validates our connection with all things. But that's not true. There are many ways on the circle of interbeing that are not mystical. I wouldn't call Nick Offerman a mystic, but I would point out that his contribution is both valid and necessary. I call him a maker. Other people may excel at building connections, or discovery, or generosity, peacemaking, or trailblazing, any number of authentic pathways. The experience of essential creativity has the capacity to radiate vitality and interconnection. Creativity has the capacity to release what is stale or stuck. To be creative, we need to hold space for something fresh, freshness like a flower. I'm not sure if there's a formula for this, although reviewing your lifestyle and setting an intention can both be useful. Then open your heart and mind and ask, how can I be in service to the creative? What is mine to do today? What is mine to do today or right now? Our minds are generally porous, which means we can be influenced by where we put our attention, for better or for worse. In 1969, Nixon decided to bomb Cambodia after watching the film about tough guy General Patton in World War II. Being porous means we are open to either cultural conditioning or divine flow. But when we feel porous to the pain of the world, we may close down to protect ourselves. Becoming smaller and rigid will also exclude creativity. If we intend to become porous with wonder, then our heart mind will allow and express the true nature of our universe. Here's a personal example that took me completely by surprise. In March 2023, it was clear to me that my own impermanence was evident. I know that people generally misunderstand death, but I'm okay with it. I don't know when the creative spark originated, but I realized I had not expressed a book of poetry with a transpersonal theme. The little book Streaming Starlight was born, and I felt it had maybe 3 weeks to be completed. I experienced an enormous flow of creativity, finishing in about 3 weeks and wasting no time to self-publish. 2 weeks later, I found a piece of paper that had sailed from my table to the bookshelf. A wonderful creation I had written during the flurry and somehow forgotten. In 15 minutes, the poem was in final form, and by swapping it out with 2 haiku, I was able to get it into my book. I'm going to end with this poem in a moment. But first, it's worth mentioning that the creative endeavor empowered me with unexpected energy. And the last poem seemed like a symbol of my life moving forward. In other words, I was reborn again. And photo 6, please. Thank you. You are the flower. Have you noticed people rushing here and there, 2 steps beyond their body, never seeing the light they step on? Have you noticed people rushing here and there, 2 steps beyond their body, never seeing the light they step on. Something will always cause fatigue. What are your default thoughts and habits when awareness and clarity go offline? When you stop to rest, will you rest in beauty? Come into the glow of sky. The invitation is perennial. You are the flower the sun's rays are seeking. Thank you, Anne. I'd like to make a comment on this poem. The pace of our lives can wear us out. When that happens, we lose our shine. When you stop to rest, will you rest in beauty? The flower attracts the honeybee with its beauty, its inner light. There's a Quaker ideal of inner light, a radiance that shines from within. When you slow down in the garden of your life, you are like a flower. The sun shines on you so that you can become radiant in your own way. I want to thank everyone for helping us create this space together.